writes the book, the author of this book, happens to be my daughter. And her name is Holly. But when she was born, she was very tiny. She was born much sooner than she was supposed to be. And she had to stay in the hospital for quite a long time so they could take care of her and make her well enough to come home. And when she was born, she hardly had any hair on her head at all. And the nurses gave her a nickname. And we would come to see how she was doing, and they would say, well, Peanut had a good day.
Peanut.
So they nicknamed her Peanut because they said her head looked like a peanut because it had no hair on it. And so that was the nickname that she got. And when she was grown and she decided to write some children's storybooks, she decided that the main character in her story would be named Peanut. And Peanut's father, who was also in most of the stories, would be named Pops, because that's what she calls me, Pops. And so this is one of the pictures that she drew for Peanut and Pops, because once she got older, she got lots of curly brown hair, and it was always going all over the place. So that's a picture of Peanut. And you see Pops there, only this picture is quite old because back then Pops had dark hair, but he doesn't anymore, does he? No. Okay, so that's Peanut and Pops from her storybook. And now Peanut has her own little Peanut, and his name is Logan. So this is a picture of her little boy named Logan, who turned 1 year old in January.
My brother won.
You have a 1 year old brother?
I have a 2-year-old.
2-year-old?
I have a 1-year-old brother. I also have a 3-year-old sister.
Wow. Lots of different ages. Okay.
Grab a marshmallow.
This is a book called Peanut Saves Rusty the Alien. This is about someone who travels to outer space to another planet and finds someone that needs some help. So this requires a lot of imagination. You have to imagine a lot of things for this story, because that's the one thing that Peanut was always good at, was imagining wild and crazy things in her life. And she's still very good at that. Okay, I'm gonna let you see the pictures as we go. Oh, look at that picture. That looks a lot like that one. Same picture. All right, there's Peanut and Pops. Now, this is how the story goes. It was the 4th rainy afternoon of the week this summer, and Peanut had run out of new games to play indoors. She really wanted to be outside. She was waiting on Pops to come home because Miss Virginia was over while he ran to the post office. But all Miss Virginia liked to do was watch TV. Just as Peanut was brainstorming, that is, thinking with her imagination for new ideas, there was a knock at the door. Peanut jumped up and ran to answer it. Do you see Miss Virginia watching the TV? She's not doing a very good job of watching Peanut, is she? She's so busy watching TV, Peanut could be doing anything she wanted to do. Okay, so somebody knocked at the door and Peanut ran to see. Behind a huge box, she heard a familiar voice, something that she recognized. Pops was home and carrying a very large package he had picked up at the post office. It was a new 2-in-1 crock pot and mixer. What in the world is a crock pot? Anybody know? Something that you cook with.
Yeah, I know.
You did? What is a crock pot?
And yeah, I cook what food with.
Right, you put it's a big pot, you put food in, you usually plug it into the wall and it heats up and helps cook things, and usually takes a long time to cook them, but when they're done, they're really good. All right, how about a mixer? What is a mixer?
A mixer will spin it and make it more better.
Right, for making bread or cookies or cake or all different kinds of things, you have to mix stuff up good to make the batter for it. So this was a crock pot and mixer together. Okay, so the box lay open on the floor as Pops carefully carried his new cooking tools to the kitchen. He asked Peanut if she wanted to help him with lunch, but she said it would have to wait for another time. She had just thought of a brilliant, that is, a very smart new game, but she said she would need to use the box from the new cooking instrument. See Pops coming in the door with that great big box he's carrying? You could barely see him hiding behind there.
I see who it is.
But she knew it was him because she recognized his voice.
I can't see.
Okay? So Pops went to the kitchen to work on lunch. And Pops was happy to have the box not just go to recycling because it was a very nice box. So Peanut ran upstairs and grabbed construction paper. Y'all ever use construction paper to make things? Different colors of paper that you can cut up and do art projects with? Oh, well. Okay. And she grabbed markers, scissors, and her best stickers. And then she began her work to build a giant spaceship. She cut and pasted and drew for a long time. You see her working on that? Who else do you see in there? Do you see anybody else in the picture?
The mouse.
The mouse. Anybody remember the mouse's name?
No.
Glenn. We'll hear about him in a little
There's
bit.
a frog in it too, and there's going to be a frog in it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a frog in this one, but yeah, she has lots of animal friends. What else do you see here? Do you know what that is?
A bunny.
A snail. That's right. That's a snail. That's right. I think the snail's going to come back and help us too. All right, so what's she doing? She's making a spaceship out of this box. Interesting.
It's fun.
When her creation, that is her spaceship, was finally finished, she put it all together. She assembled it and carefully started toward the door to take it downstairs to show off her work. Who's she going to show it to?
Her dad.
Pops, that's right. But suddenly the box began to shake. The buttons lit up and smoke rolled from underneath the machine as it turned on. The rocket ship was taking off. Oh my goodness.
She's in
Her
there.
rocket ship was getting ready to take off.
She's in there.
Peanut fell back as the machine lifted up into the air. Thinking fast, she told Glenn, the mouse, to hop out and open the window.
That's a bad idea.
You think?
No.
Well, let's see.
Because you might get hurt when you
Well, actually, right as he opened the window, the rocket shot out of the window and into the sky. Peanut clambered back into the pilot seat and fastened her seatbelt. She had to make contact with Glenn. You remember Glenn got out. Glenn was working from the rocket ship's control center in her room, so she tried the radio, knowing it was their only chance of making it back home. Glenn, this is Peanut. Do you read me? Loud and clear, Peanut, his voice squeaked. Yes, the radio worked, so she could talk to Glenn. By this time, Peanut and Sandy, that's the snail, Peanut and Sandy were climbing higher and higher into the sky. Houses were shrinking. Why were the houses shrinking?
Because you get really high.
She was getting so far away that they began to look smaller and smaller, right? The houses were shrinking, the cars looked like toys, and her neighbors were as small as ants.
Or like
Fun.
The view of the stars was magnificent. That means fabulous, wonderful. As she gradually left Earth's atmosphere and soared into the black emptiness of space. The stars were brighter and bigger than she had ever seen them from her backyard. They glided by groups of stars and weaved around meteors until they finally landed on a strange planet that neither Peanut nor Sandy recognized. Ooh, look at her
Sandy.
flying. Sandy is the snail that's with her. See them flying?
That is a no potted plant.
You think it's a hot planet?
What color is that planet?
Red.
This one here
Yeah.
kind of looks orange a little bit, kind of red, but a little bit orange. Okay. Peanut was curious, so she grabbed her helmet, she suited up, she had a spacesuit to put on, I suppose, and she carefully stepped from the spacecraft. The planet was orangey red, you're right, and covered in little hills and valleys. As she approached one of the hills, a tiny alien popped out. "Oh, hello," Peanut said politely. Wait, it's on the next page. "Oh, hello," Peanut said politely. "Hello, my name is Rusty," the alien replied in a robotic but happy voice. "Could you tell me where we are?" she inquired, looking around again.
Vera.
"This is planet Oxidius." "Oh," cried Peanut. Now she knew what the red-orange color was. Pops had explained it to her only a few days earlier. When metals mix with water for a long period of time, and then they're exposed to oxygen in the air, do you know what happens to them? They turn to rust. You ever seen anything rusted metal? Kind of orangey red looking. The entire planet was covered in rust. The alien sneezed very loudly, causing a huge cloud of red dust to explode in slow motion as the tiny particles formed a cloud around them. "Bless you," said Peanut, and offered the alien a tissue. "Thank you," he sniffed robotically. "This rust dust is making us sick," he explained before blowing his nose. "We are allergic to rust," explained the alien. "Our planet had too much rain and it caused these rust storms. Now everything is covered in rust." Suddenly Peanut had an idea. She wasn't sure if it would work, but it was worth a try. She hurried back to the spaceship and grabbed a jar of pickles she had been saving for lunch. Pops had told her that vinegar would remove rust. She had learned in school that pickles were made with vinegar. With the pickle jar in hand, she explained her plan to Rusty. His face lit up, and they began digging holes to plant the pickles. After planting the entire jar, they poured the pickle juice over each row of the plants. Because the ground of Oxidius is not quite like that of Earth, the pickles began to grow immediately. They shot up from the ground. Large stems of green broke through the red ground as the pickle trees took root. Soon the thick layer of rust began to disappear from around the plants. "It worked," they beamed. "Let's keep planting." See the pickle trees planted on the ground?
Green and orange.
They picked handfuls of pickles from the new trees and worked very hard until nearly the entire planet was covered in pickle plants. As the rust began to disappear, the true surface of the planet shone through, and it was more beautiful than any dirt Peanut had seen on Earth. It shimmered and glowed a brilliant silver color. Rusty thanked Peanut and Sandy for saving his planet. In return for their kindness, Rusty filled their pickle jar with some of the shiny, glittering soil and gave it to Peanut so she would never forget their adventure and her creative idea. The two friends waved goodbye to Rusty as they boarded their spaceship headed back to Earth. As the rocket approached Peanut's house, a delicious smell filled the air. It was almost time for lunch. See, there's the picture of the planet as she's leaving. You see all those pickle trees that are planted there?
Yeah, but what's that doing
I
this?
think we just taught them to
I believe that would be Rusty. The machine, the spaceship, glided through the open window of her room and landed safely beside Glenn, who was waiting anxiously at the control panel to hear all about their great adventure. Peanut raced downstairs and retold her grand journey to space, where she grew pickles and pickle trees on planet Oxidius. Pops was quite impressed and asked if next time he could join them. Peanut happily agreed. See, she came into the room and she's got the big spaceship in the box.
What is that air? Is that
Where?
air?
This, that's the fire from her spaceship as it's coming in.
Fire.
Yes. All right. And then in the very back, oh, there's a recipe for Pop's bread and butter pickles. In case you need to make some pickles.
I think we just recently talked about like how cucumbers make pickles. We mentioned that. So when you were saying pickle plant, I was like, I wonder if they even remember that we talked about that.
I don't think they quite grow the way Peanut imagined. I think that was part of her imagination. So now, Peanut also made some books that were coloring books that you can color yourself.
Oh.
That was the first books that she made,
Okay.
was the coloring version. And then she went back and did watercolors and made a different book.
What is that?
So maybe you can find someone that can help you
I'm
color.
gonna
I'll
have
bet.
my daughter, she likes to do art, so I'm gonna have her color this one.
So, how would you like to make a spaceship of your own? Yes?
I made one on my mom's phone.
You made one on your mom's phone? How about if you could make one out of your own cardboard box? Put some stickers. Well, you could fly in your imagination, but yeah, I don't think I would climb in the box and try and fly.
That's your
My phone. My phone.
guys.